This movie would not have been greenlit if the genders were reversed. Last night, the Regal Mystery Movie Monday was Oh Hi, and I just got off a live stream discussion about it with deleted scenes and Kyle Corwith. I will link that at the end of this video. The end screen will be a link to the live stream discussion about this. The movie opens with the main character looking very troubled, looking very concerned about something, and it's playing kind of eerie, suspenseful-ish music. She has called her friend over to the house where she is, and she answers the door. And throughout the course of the very short discussion that they have, you realize something is wrong. Obviously, you know something's wrong just from the music it was playing at the beginning. She tells her friend she did something. Then it cuts to a flashback scene of when she and this guy she's with, they're traveling through the country. They're heading to this place called High something. I can't remember. The sign is messed up and like an O or 0 has fallen down in front of the word high. And she insists that it's saying that the place that they're going to is Oh High and it's really high. Whatever. That's why the movie's name comes about. It's showing them having these romantic moments. They're reading together. They're having intimate relations with each other. They're swimming in the lake. They're having a nice romantic meal. Then they engage in some kinky stuff. Not super kinky, but this house where they're staying, they found some bondage stuff. And so they thought it'd be fun to play around with the bondage stuff. He ends up being tied during this moment that they're having together. He's shackled with these cuffs around his wrist and everything. And when everything is done and she's starting to release him from his bonds, this discussion comes up. She calls him her boyfriend, and he indicates to her that no, they weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, and he wasn't in this relationship for it to be something serious, and then get in this argument. She gets so mad at him that she decides to keep him chained up. And she declares she's going to keep him chained up for 12 hours so that they can kind of sort through this. Basically, she's thinking he's going to change his mind if she holds him captive. So that's the basic premise of the story. Things just kind of continue to snowball from there. Her friends get involved, and this film is played off as like a black comedy of sorts. There are comedic moments in it. There was a lot of laughter from the audience that I was with. I'm rating this film 1 out of 5 stars. I feel like that's being generous. And that rating has nothing to do with the technical aspects of the film. The acting was serviceable. The cinematography and the editing was adequate, was decent, was fine. The pacing was okay. It was only about 90 minutes long, 94-ish, counting credits. You know, the dialogue in here was fine. The comedic timing was fine, you know, if you're going to view this as a comedy. However, this is what ruins the film for me. And this is going to make the film end up on my worst for the year. Absolutely. I knew it without a doubt actually, not as soon as it was done. I knew it without a doubt once the premise became clear and she kept this guy locked up for 12 hours plus. It ends up being more than that, because things escalate and get worse. The subject matter to me was so offensive and disturbing, I could not buy into the comedy of it. There were also some problems with the writing too. Just the whole setup for how he ended up being chained in the first place, and then how he continued being chained later, even after the 12 hours was up. Yeah, I'm going to spoil this. I don't care. I'm going to spoil this movie. We spoiled it in the live stream discussion. I'm going to do the same here. The setups for the whole basis of this story were terrible. Number one, before they even engage in this moment of intimacy with the shackles on, they had had a discussion over dinner where she had talked about she had wanted to stab a boyfriend of hers that broke up with her. Okay, well, that moment's kind of smoothed over when she's like, well, I would never do that. It was just like, that's what I wanted to do. Found out during the live stream discussion, by the way, that this film was co-written by the actress who played the main character. And this was a therapy session of sorts for her. So that, to me, makes everything about this even worse, because the actress herself thinks that it was perfectly fine what this character did. And I'll tell you what else is super disturbing about this. The freaking laughter in the theater from people Like, this was hilarious. Would they be laughing if it was a woman chained to the bed? No, they would not. And they would be lying if they declared they would. They absolutely would not. This would not fly. This would not be okay. Nothing would be funny about this, having a girl chained to a bed with a ball gag in her mouth because the guy doesn't want to let her go because she wants to break up with him or not be exclusive with him. Okay? This was terrible. Just the entire, whatever. Okay, I went off the rails. The writing. What was I talking? I was talking about the writing. So the whole setup, the whole scenario was terrible. Then there's a point where there's keys right there on the table within like an inch of his fingers. He takes her hair comb, not like a comb to comb your hair, but like a stylish comb you put in your hair. He takes the comb and he's trying to snag the keys with it. Instead of holding the comb perpendicular to the table and using the prongs of the comb to snag the keys and drag it to you, no, he turns the comb sideways and he's pushing the keys towards the edge of the table. And then they fall off the table. That was terrible. Anyway, then her friends come into the story and her friend is an enabler. She doesn't just immediately tell her, hey, you need to let him go. The main character at this point, it's already been indicated to her by the guy she's chained up. This is kidnapping. You're not supposed to do this. This is illegal. And he's basically like, I'm going to report you. Well, that was a mistake too. That was dumb. He never should have said that to her. But anyway, whatever. There's so much wrong with just the writing in here. Her friends. It turns into this little comedy thing where they're all trying to figure out how to solve the situation. And then they come up with this solution where they're going to make him drink this witchcraft potion and have him forget it. And then he drinks the potion and the boyfriend of the friend, he goes right along with all this crap. Like it's perfectly fine because he's a complete whatever. He gives the prisoner potion because they're like, well, he's not going to take it from us. Maybe he'll take it from you. So he gives it to the guy strapped to the bed, played by the way, Percy Jackson. I forgot to mention that. Logan Lerman, I think is his name. And the guy pretends that the potion works. The guy strapped to the bed pretends the potion works because he had overheard them talking about this. The next day, he wakes up and he's pretending that the potion has worked. The girl lets him go. And then they're talking about having breakfast and all this. And he says he left the flour in the car. Can he have the keys to go get the flour? But he has not forgotten. He gets in the car and he runs off. It's raining. He runs off. The main character decides, that's over. Whatever happens if the police come, I'll just say it was all me, she supposedly learned her lesson. Ends up that the guy has crashed the car. The police call. She at first thinks it's because she's going to be in trouble, but the guy has crashed the car. She finds the guy injured in the woods. They have this little heart-to-heart and everything is fine. I don't think they're going to get back together by the end of it because they have this little moment where they're talking and it seems clear that that's not going to happen. But when I say everything is fine, what I mean is there is no consequence for her action at all. Well, because this is a comedy, of course, there's, I guess, not supposed to be any real consequence for what she's done. She's supposed to end up having a happily sort of ever after story. But even though this was marketed as a comedy, the humor relies on something that is profoundly disturbing, a very unsettling power dynamic between the characters of the story. And at the end of it, the guy that she has kept chained to a bed, he ends up apologizing to her for, I guess, misleading her or whatever. But I'm not even convinced he totally misled her. Just seems like she read more into it, maybe, than he was being friendly and nice and everything. And she reads this as meaning, he wants to be exclusive. They talk about this conversation that they'd had where he had indicated that they wasn't going to be exclusive, but she completely misconstrued all that and thought that they were supposed to be. So whatever. There's just this whole mess. I don't find it funny that this story was played for laughs. I also find it extremely disturbing, as I've already mentioned, that the audience seemed to think this was freaking hilarious. What is wrong with these people? I just couldn't with this film. And just on top of all that, like I said, stupid writing decisions, terrible character logic going on with things that were said that shouldn't have been said, that was the wrong moment. Obviously, if things had been done in the right way, this movie would have been over very early on, like 30 minutes in when she first tied him up. But it feels like these stupid decisions were made just to drag this runtime out, maintain this stupid premise. And in the end, everything is fine. No consequences at all. We're just supposed to shrug and just move on. We talked about a scenario that would have worked better. If she accidentally lost the keys, or the keys got like tossed somewhere and they couldn't find them, and the whole movie is sort of this comedy of trying to figure out how to, well, actually, they could have easily just cut through his straps. So I don't know. Like maybe if they were metal handcuffs, yeah. But they were like leather handcuffs, leather straps around his arms. But whatever. They could have made this in such a way that it was just this goofball comedy, this fluky accident that happened, and he's chained to the bed. But that could have been solved by them just calling the cops. Look, we were having kinky sex and I lost the key. Can you come unchain? So that probably wouldn't work either. Basically, I don't think there's much that could be done to salvage this craptastically awful story. And I am totally astounded at the high reviews that this film has on Letterboxd and on Rotten Tomatoes, of course. Well, I'm not giving this a high review. Like I said, it's a 1 out of 5 stars for me. I don't recommend watching this unless you get some sort of entertainment out of watching double standards play out in movies these days. But yeah, this did not work for me at all. I was very angry at this movie when it was done. I didn't laugh once. And the longer the film went on, and it wasn't super long, but the longer the film went on, the more disturbed and disgusted I became by the story and the audience, or anybody in the audience who was laughing. And there were a lot of people laughing. And it wasn't just young people laughing either. The people closest to me in the same row, a few seats down from me, they were older. They weren't like young teeny boppers. What's wrong with these people? I swear. I know it's all subjective, but I just don't see how anybody could approach subject matter like this and find it funny. All you have to do to run a quick check or a quick test is flip the genders. And if it's not funny for that, then there's no way in hell it should be funny for this. And nope, nothing really redeeming about this film at all. And I think that's all I have to say about Oh Hi. If you guys watch it, let me know what you think. Okay, I got nothing else to say. Adios.